Well, Tuesday night wasn't good, was it?
Just miles off it. Absolutely miles off it.
Thing is, Andy Garners not wrong. And do you know what? How refreshing was it to have that post-match interview as the Stags continue to fall? Defeat at Exeter on Tuesday night leaves the Stags worried. It leaves the management scratching their heads, in Andy Garner's case quite literally, and it leaves us with 10 games to go, very much embroiled in a huge relegation battle. Can we stay in the division? Can we turn around the horrible stat that Mansfield Town are the worst side over the last 10 games in the entire EFL? Something has to change. Something has to give. Will Saturday against Barnsley be that day, or will we continue to fall? As always, come and have your say on your team, or your rant on your team, if you like, in the live feed comments on the show for the fans, by the fans. Why? Because Mansfield always matters. Hello, good evening and welcome to the Mansfield Matters Podcast. It's the show for the fans, by the fans. Why? Because Mansfield always matters. Thanks so much for joining us this evening. Really do appreciate you coming on board. There's lots to be said this evening and we've got a full panel to join us in doing so. A reminder that, of course, all the views expressed in this broadcast tonight are those of the individuals. You can get involved in the comments and have your say on your team, as a lot of you are already doing as well. Make sure you get involved throughout the entire course of the show. Well, let's introduce our guests, shall we? First and foremost, it's the man that's desperate to shout out goal scorer for the Stags, Mansfield Town's number 10, Giorgio Mauricio. It's Alan Wilsonio.
Good evening, Craig. Good evening, everybody.
I'm going to change your name on here to Alan Wilsonio. I just want to see a load of O's at the end of your name. It'd be funny. And a man who is back after weeks away. He knows there's a debate on the way, and I think he's turned up because he knows that I'm going to have to take my frustrations out on something, so it might as well be him. Evening, Cam.
Good evening. How is everybody?
Very, very well. Even better for seeing you, because I know that I've got some corkers lined up for later on. And here to keep the peace and give us a perspective from everything hurt game 2. Let's say, hey, a warm Mansfield Matters welcome to Katie. Good evening, Katie.
Good evening. I'm looking forward to giving my opinions and hopefully getting some of you down to the stadium on Saturday.
We're going to talk all about that later in the show. Lots of things coming up on Saturday against Barnsley. As you are new to the podcast panel, there are a couple of initiations that we need you to do. We've got to see whether you passed the test or not. So there's two vital quiz questions for you. What is the correct use of name for Mansfield Town's defender Deji Oshalaja?
Deji Oshalaja.
No.
Oh, it's incorrect. I think you'll find the answer on this podcast is Dave. So we'll give you that. Early doors. Let's see whether you get the correct terminology for what do we call Stephen Quinn?
Quiddy.
Uncle Stephen. Uncle Stephen.
I've got an Uncle Stephen, so that one don't quite work for me.
I'll let you off on that one, but I must insist that every time you refer to Deji tonight, you have to refer to him as Dave. That's the only rule that rely. I'm sure you'll remember it throughout the course of the show. The other thing, though, of course, is to all of our viewers and listeners, just tell us a little bit more about yourself. Tell us a little bit more about what drew you to becoming a Mansfield fan and ultimately led you to getting involved with her game too.
Well, my mum's a Mansfield Town fan, and I went to the games with her when I was younger. So, yeah, it was my mum really that got me into being a Mansfield fan. It was the one thing that we did just us two, and her game too is something that every fan should feel safe going to a game, and we want to make sure that all the girls and the women do too.
What can you remember the first game that you went to? What was your first Mansfield game?
I was that young. I think I was about 5 when I went. It was a long time ago. So I just remember Jake Buxton and everybody played for us at the time. So
Who would have been gaffer then? I'm trying to sort of I'm trying to figure out a year.
it was around 1999, 2000. So
Oh, okay. Yeah, so it would have been probably the first time of Billy Dearden and then Skip
Yeah.
and then long time fan then. And in terms of where you call home on a match day, in terms of where you call home on a match day, where's your seat?
I'm a Q blocker up in the Rowdy area.
One of the rowdy bunches. Oh, bless you. Bless you.
Us here at Mansfield Matters take everything we've ever said about the Q Block.
I don't think we as a collective, Cameron, have ever said anything, have we? It's more you, isn't it?
I blame Clive, actually.
Yeah, to be fair, he's not here to defend himself, so that's a fair comment. Alan, you are always the voice of reason on this podcast. Can you give Katie some firm advice over what she might expect over the next hour or so here on Mansfield Matters?
But basically, Katie, like Mansfield Town are performing this season. There'll be some ups, there'll be some downs, and plenty of in between. But nice to have somebody on from her game too. And we'll look forward to Saturday announcing, all the rigmarole that goes with it. And will the photos be there where you can have your photo in?
Yes, the photo board will be there this weekend.
Last time, I think that
Me.
was Cameron. Well, I do believe.
Yeah.
So if he's helping me again this year, they will turn out blurry. Right, let's turn our attention to things on the pitch then, shall we, Cam? Do you know what? What we needed after Tuesday night was Andy Garner, and
Oh my God.
did we get that?
He took no doing that interview, did he? Wow. To be honest, I think that's something we've always been mildly critical of Nigel Clough for. Maybe glossing over things a little bit too much, not very much giving a PR answer, not the straight answer. And I think we have been a little bit guilty of being a bit too happy clappy, and I think that's a lot of the frustration of the fans over the last few seasons, is when things haven't been going well, we've not addressed them as such. We've kind of glossed over them or passed it off as certain things, certain players being injured, or just the amount of players being injured. And granted, we've very much got the same issues again, but this season we've got enough depth in that squad to be able to perform and to be able to still pretty much play as the Mansfield that we know, and this identity that we've got under Nigel Clough, and it's just not there. And it hasn't been for even games that we've won this season. We've not always necessarily played the way that we know Mansfield do. And you could look at that two ways, as in we've not got the personnel to play the same style of football. Is that down to injuries, or is that down to selection? Is that down to tactics, or is it simply that the players just can't play that style of football whilst having the extra intensity? You've got the time and the space to be able to play around with the ball, pass the ball around a little bit more in League Two, whereas League One, you haven't got a second on that ball before someone's closing you down. And we've been very guilty of it in the last few weeks, that we've very much tried to go on the front foot, but ended up very much on the back foot very quickly.
Katie, when you saw the result on Tuesday night and you saw the post-match interview come out, what was your immediate reaction when you were watching/listening to that? Because it was an absolute corker.
Well, I've not actually, I'll be honest, I've not seen the interview due to personal issues and not being able to get full access to certain things. But I did watch the game, and if watching the game is anything to go by, I wouldn't be surprised if he wanted to swear quite a lot during that interview, because I'd say that was our worst game of the season that I've seen myself.
That was pretty much some of his answers, to be fair. He was very much like, it's the worst that we've played. He said we were miles off it. I basically wrote some notes down earlier. I was watching it again, and I was transfixed by it. Disgraceful performance. First 15 minutes, absolutely embarrassing. Embarrassing for the fans. There was a lack of everything, lack of energy, lack of play, just completely miles off it. And I actually think sometimes we need that little bit of honesty. And do you know what? I feel like it was the right time with 10 games to go psychologically for him to come out and say that. What are your thoughts?
I just think the team need to wake up. As somebody said in the comments, we're very much underperforming. And in this league, we should have a B team ready to step up when we don't have those players and they are injured, because League One isn't something that you can just go out there and go, well, we'll try. If it doesn't work, we'll see where we go. We are fighting for relegation, and all the fans wanted this season was for us to, well, for myself especially, and for anybody that really just stay in League One, the double, and we're not expecting them to go ahead and win the league or anything like that. But staying up is definitely something that a lot of fans that I've spoken to want, rather than going, oh, we've gone up, we've come straight back down. Because, yeah, there's the achievement of going up, but there's also that achievement of staying up and proving that we are good enough for that league.
That's been the biggest call, Alan. It's, we've said from minute one that this season is all about survival, but the way that we're going around things at the moment, it seems like it's a huge ask with 10 games to go. For me, it almost feels like we are falling. And, to have that stat, like I said at the top of the show, Al, we are statistically the worst side in the EFL at the moment, with only 3 points from a possible 30.
I know it's getting quite precarious at the moment, but I'm still confident that we'll do it, because I just couldn't understand after watching the highlights and whatever on Tuesday. I'd got one word, and that was disjointed. That's how we looked to me. As soon as Maka went off, I mean, obviously Nigel has his own plan for how to do things, but I would have moved Cargill across to left back and brought either Kilgore or Flint into the centre-back position. Then you're only utilising one space, where we'd got Williams going over to the left, who didn't particularly look that comfortable there. Barry,
No.
It was a bit off form again. I think, he had a couple of times, and I mean, he got booked within minutes coming on, didn't he? I just didn't think, in my opinion, we just looked disjointed and couldn't get anything going. Second half was a little bit better, I thought. But I thought when Andy Garner spoke about the two players, the two I would have said would have been Dave and Aaron Lewis.
That's Jojolage for you, Katie, just in case you wonder.
Well.
Keely did say that she should have told you before you started, and to be fair, so should we. But there you go. Keep your comments coming in.
Swings and roundabouts, but go on, carry on.
Finish. No, go on, Al. Go on.
I was just saying, when Andy gave his interview, you could see it was really hurting, but he was cool, calm, and collected. And whatever you could see, like I said, it was really upset. But it was a very honest interview. It was good of him to do it, I think, because, everybody was hurting. We're all hurting as Mansfield Town fans. And that's probably why Nigel didn't come out, and Andy came out because of how we'd played.
I do love an Andy Garner one every now and again. It's just good for the soul. Keep your comments coming in. Have your say on your team. Yeah. There's a lot of comments coming in already tonight about that interview. Let's start off with Matthew on YouTube, who says Andy Garner interview was incredible. Exactly what we needed. Honesty. It was a disgusting performance on Tuesday. Simon says Garner probably said what Clough wants to say but can't. Richard adds, Garner didn't beat about the bush and said it how we saw it. Richard says, don't you guys think that Garner's rant on Tuesday was needed? If the team is as mentally strong as has sometimes been suggested, then it should be a wake-up call for the underperforming players. And I do wonder, Cam, whether there's a little bit of the Nathan Edge reverse psychology slotted into the thinking behind that interview. It was a raw, honest assessment of the game. He wasn't wrong in anything that he said. And sometimes you need to have that honesty out in the press, because you can protect your players for so long, but sometimes they need calling out. And if the top man's calling them out, hopefully it should have an effect come Saturday.
Yeah, like I said, I think we've been guilty of just been brushing over things. We as a podcast have been critical in previous seasons, even when things have been going well. Like, we cannot let this intensity slip, and even the start of this season when we had a fantastic start, it was right. Well, we know it's going to end at some point. How do we respond from that? And at the moment, the response is we are going down with a whimper. And it's not good enough. It's simply not good enough. And the players that we've got have got enough ability, most of them, to perform in League One. And it's quite evident that some players aren't cut out for it, most of which played on Tuesday night. And it was quite clear that Mr. Garns very much thought the same.
Katie, if you were in the position of being the players and hearing your first team coach come out in the media and basically throw you under the bus with comments like...
Just miles off it. Absolutely miles off it.
What reaction do you think you'd have? Do you think it'd have the effect that we're all hoping it will, or would it be into your shell?
I'd like to think so. But again, I'm not a football player, so it's not something that I can comment on as a football player. I'm just hoping that they've heard the interview, seen some of the comments from the fans following that interview, and hopefully go out and play for the fans and give us what we want on Saturday.
Simon in the comments, Alan says the most concerning comment from Garner was the players won't be feeling like us tonight. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm not so sure about that one. I'm sure they are. And if Reed that's doing it, whether it's Kilgore, on Monday morning training, I would have got everybody together after the training or before the training and had a really good word, and knuckle down and get stuck into training this week and prove Garns wrong and prove the fans, let's have something. I know they don't play bad on purpose, in my opinion, anyway. They will play for the badge. But let's just have a performance to be proud of, even if it's a 2-0 loss, whatever, providing they've give 110%, the Stags fans will applaud them off. What we want to see is grit, determination and playing for this.
Is that not what the most concerning thing, though, is from all of this, Katie? Because you look back over the previous 3 games prior to Exeter, we'd started picking up points again, we'd changed system, we'd started playing quite brightly and on the front foot again, and it just seemed to go completely in the opposite direction. So is that not the most concerning thing, that we were completely miles off it and we've just done a complete U-turn?
Yeah, it feels like something's happened that's maybe knocked confidence a little bit, or maybe a change around in the team's happened and the team haven't quite worked together enough to go out and give us the performance that we want. There's no saying what they're feeling, but all we can hope is that it's not something that's going to continue for the rest of the 10 games.
Cam, what do you think it is that's gone wrong? Not just between full time on Saturday and kick off on Tuesday night, but over the last 10 games, we said, like we keep saying, we refer back to that stat, 3 points from the last available 30, the worst record in the EFL and the second worst in the top 4 divisions, only better by 1 point than Southampton in the Prem, who actually have won a game in their last 10, which of course we failed to do.
It's just a lot of frustration. I think we as fans know we can perform better. I think the players know it as well. And whatever's going on in that dressing room, something's just not right. I don't think there were suggestions there was a rift in the dressing room. I don't even think it's that. I just think we've panicked. I think we've seen what a fantastic start we've had, and I think we've then just gone, all right, well, we're pretty much there, and put his feet up. Because it looks like at least 90% of those lads look like they're on the beach already. They just don't look bothered. And I think, like you alluded to a couple of minutes ago, asking Katie about how do the players feel, I'd be pretty frustrated about the fact that Garns had to come out and make that comment, but I'd also be embarrassed. Because we as fans spend hundreds and in some cases, thousands of pounds following the team home and away, season after season, hotels, food, shirts, other general merch, going in the bars before games. It's a lot of money, and effectively, it's at the moment it's going down the pan for nothing because we're not able to get a result. And I think the squad that we've got are guilty of underperforming, but I also think from higher up, I think whether that's Nigel or the ownership, I think we didn't do enough in January. And yet again, it's coming back to bite us. Players that probably shouldn't be here are still here. We've not replaced with better quality. We've bought better quality, and I'll give them that. But it's few and far between. And those that coasted by in League Two are really getting found out this season for simply not being good enough. And it's quite evident that past clubs that they've also been at in League One, they were not really doing anything there either. Hence why they ended up with us in League Two. Great League Two players, simply not good enough for League One.
Keep your comments coming in. Have your say on your team. Kevin says 70% of those players will probably be gone at the end of the season, and they know it. I'd argue that's probably higher than 70% as well. I'd probably argue that it's probably more like 85, 90%. I know we've got a lot of options on players, but again, it goes back to that argument of who's going to be in charge, next season to see this overhaul of players. I don't think it's going to be Clough. I think judging by some of his reactions in the press and especially the body language from what Andy Garner went through on Tuesday night, I just felt that they feel like they've mentally checked out as well. Mark says it's the CEO not backing Nigel. Owners have also said there's no money. I'd like to see a source of that, though, Mark, because I think that is a little bit more hearsay than anything else. Like we've said on the podcast previously, I don't necessarily think it's a case that there is no money. I think it's more of a case of how we're trying to operate as a club model, which is trying to be self-sufficient. So I'd like to maybe, if the owners have come out and said that there is no money, then I'd like to see a source of that comment, please. Carl says a lot of lads probably know they are going to be not going to be at the club next season already. And let's be honest, if that's the case, players are not going to be playing at full capacity and giving it 110% because they know if they get injured, they're screwed finding another club in the summer. Absolutely agree 100% with that because, again, you try and protect yourself, don't you? You put yourself in the shop window, but you're not giving your all, especially if you've got a deal on the table. It's sort of saying about you being fit. Mark says, Sid said it again. I'd like a link to where that is, please. I'm not arguing against the fact. I'm just saying that a comment is just a little bit hearsay. Who's put back Daryl Clark? Richard said Daryl Clark was sacked by Barnsley. I think it was yesterday, wasn't it? Future Stags boss. I'd love to see it, but personal circumstances, which we won't go into, I don't think we'll ever see Daryl Clark as Mansfield manager, which is a little bit of a shame, but that's another conversation for another day. Jamie says, like I said the other day, there's no way Nigel Clough will sort it because he would have done by now. Katie, what's your stance on the whole Nigel Clough situation? Because, of course, he made the comment at the end of last season or towards the end of last season that he said if he didn't get promoted, he'd walk away and sort of leave at the end of his contract. Said he had a year's extension, which was triggered. And then, of course, a few weeks ago, refused to be drawn at all on whether or not he'd stay next season and was very vague in his reasonings for it as well. So what's your take on the whole Clough situation?
Well, looking at his history, he's got clubs the promotion and then struggled the season after. So I think we might be looking at the same thing here. He's got us that promotion, he's struggling. Maybe we are, as much as I'm thankful to him for everything that he has done for the team, maybe we are at a point where maybe a new manager is something that the owners will be looking at. Because he's not really given us anything this season that we can say that is something to be proud of, really. The players aren't playing well enough. We're still out of the relegation position for now and hopefully for the rest of the season, but it's not just out of the relegation position that we want, is it really? It's maybe more mid-table that we were hoping for, but we'll just have to see how he feels at the end of the season.
When we were in that run of games, Katie, where we had picked up 1 point from 30, and there was a lot of speculation over whether or not we should sack him and move on to a new manager, where were you sat then? Because even with 10 games to go, as much as it makes sense to stick with him till the end of the season and sort of give him that continued right to try and steer us to survival, there's still a logical part of my brain which goes, if we're overhauling the squad in the summer, surely a new manager should be given 8 to 10 games to look over what he could potentially have.
See, I've always thought in the case of it's getting towards that point in the season where even if we do bring in a new manager, that new manager is not going to be able to do much because he's not going to have the time to do it. So it's a double-ended sword, really. We keep Nigel, we carry on playing the way that we're playing. Hopefully we stay up, or we get a new manager and see what they can do. But it's a what can they do? Are they going to be able to get us those points that are so needed? So it's just, I don't know. I'm a bit on the fence with that one.
That's the big question, though, Alan, isn't it? Are they going to be able to get us the points that we so desperately need? I know that you're the most positive man on the planet, and you fully believe that we can go and win the next 10 games and mount a playoff charge. However, there is a little bit of realism in there. Who needs to stand up and take accountability for this? Because it is dreadful.
The players. Nigel picks Nigel picks the team, and it's the players that go out of over the white line to perform. And at the start of the season, we were doing that. We were okay. I mean, we've failed miserably since. And like Simon said in the comments, Gregory is a big miss. I know one man doesn't make a team, but when you've got an outlet like Gregory, who can score goals and brings the other side, rest of the team into play, he is a big miss. And from Tuesday night, for example, when young Caelan got on the ball, there seemed to be 2 Exeter players. They'd done the homework on Caelan Vickers because they were like, they were claustrophobic, couldn't get the ball past them. So it came over to the right to try. And then there were 2 on this side. And so it was like, I think that's why, he struggled in the game. And perhaps some teams have worked us out to a certain amount. But what we need to do is, I mean, the lowest point last time was, because we were there, the lowest point was Northampton when we lost. And we need to get back on the horse and get back to winning ways and do exactly what we did after Northampton. And I firmly believe we can do it. We just need a bit of confidence. We need an early goal and we need a win.
Failure to win Saturday, Cam. 9 games left to go at that point in the season. What do you do?
I think it's a difficult one, but I think on the basis of I don't know who I'd want to be the manager. I don't think Darrell Clark's the right person.
No, not mentally. I don't think he's the right fit.
Because I think even
just because
I think football decisions as well. I don't think his Barnsley team, they've not been brilliant. All right, first game of the season, they were bang average against us, and they've got a massive budget compared to us. And the players that they've brought in, they should be doing a lot better than what they are. And it's quite clear that he was the issue. So, or his tactics were at least. So I don't think that's the right option. And I wrote, I did an article for the Football League World.
It's only taking you 31 minutes, 35 seconds to give that a plug.
Thank you. Go and read it. It's on Mansfield Town FC followers. It's all on there. I wouldn't be able to pick a manager at the moment. I don't think there's particularly anybody out there that's available, at least, that I'd say, yes, I'd want them. These definitely managers I'd quite like, but they're not realistic, or they're just the wrong time. Like we said, it very much is a case of, if we are going to do it, we do it now. We say, right, Nigel's going at the end. Even if Nigel stays till the end of the season, we already announced, new managers coming in at the end of the season, Nigel's doing it to end. Then you can still, Nigel gets to see it out. That new manager then also gets a view of what's actually happening. And I think, to be honest, that's probably the best way forward. And I think we have been a little bit knee-jerky in the past when it comes to letting managers go. You look at, obviously, Dave Flitcroft let go far too early. Obviously, that was a completely different situation, and I think that was a money decision and a business decision more than a football decision. Whereas now, we're very much in a better place than we were back then, as in squad, ground, the infrastructure in general is a lot better. So I can understand why maybe we're not sacking Nigel, because the decisions are a bit more methodical and thought out, and it all comes as part of a bigger plan for the greater good. And as long as we can see it out to the end of the season, I don't have an issue with bringing somebody else in. But like Nigel said, he can't do this forever. And it's now at the point of what's going to come first. Are we going to push him, or is he going to go on his own?
I have to say, I read your article that you did earlier, and my immediate thought was...
Oh, my God. It's embarrassing.
I just wanted to get that clip in. Keep your comments coming in. Have your say on your team. Marie says, love Garns' interviews. He says it as it is. Brutally honest. In recent times, Nigel's interviews make you wonder which game he's been watching. Lots more comments at the bottom as well. Let me scroll to a few of those as well. We've got some long ones here for me to try and get through. George says, it's possibly what Nigel has thought for a long while. It's obvious that the team is running out of steam. They had a fantastic start because they put so much effort in the beginning, but skill and technique will find you out. I can never understand why stopping in this league is seen as the acceptable ambition for the club. A lot of directions point in the right way, crowds, etc. Even if we stay up, it's obvious some serious thought needs addressing for next season. I think that maybe the last time we were in this division, we were in the top 3 or 4 clubs in total in scoring. It was keeping the goals out that was the problem. So there was the entertainment. But this year, it's been absolutely dour. We need to invest or accept Mansfield's glass ceiling. I think, Alan, actually, that's a fair comment. I think the only thing in there which I sort of argue back against is that staying up this year is the acceptable ambition, because that is the sounding board as we've discussed for future seasons. But again, if we don't stay up this season, which, let's be honest, hand on heart at the moment, with the way we're performing and playing, looks a real possibility that we won't. You're looking at maybe another 6 seasons before we even get a shot at this again.
Yeah, I agree with quite a bit of what he says, same as what you said. But I don't agree with the ambition bit. I think we have got ambitions, but it's just stalling at this present time. We're getting other stuff done, like we've all said before. We're getting stuff done off the field, but it's on the field where it matters now. These last 10 games, let's get that sorted, because we all knew that we'd struggle this season. And like we said right at the beginning, 20th place would be okay. We know that it's an aging squad. We know we're going to have to change quite a lot of the players, an awful lot of the players. And who knows, that might already be in the minds of people that are up the top, where players getting in, etc., etc. But we need to stay here first, which, like I said, I still firmly believe we've got enough in the tank to do.
Keep your comments coming in. Matthew says he hasn't been back, though, in my opinion. The best player sold on deadline day and not replaced. Mark says, to be fair, agree with what you're saying. No substance, but we are not hearing anything from our CEO and chairman. I find that a little disturbing, as they need to show unity with the management or move on, which, as we've said, will cost a fortune for a full rebuild, 85% of the team. Kevin says, if Nigel goes, then what a mess. It will leave us wanting a new manager and new players. Well, we already need new players in the summer. We're going to need a massive overhaul anyway, and that's why I question whether or not it should be Clough to lead that, because I think if he does stay, he's only going to stay for another year, and I don't think that's going to be a very attractive proposition to any player that wants to come in, and I think we'll end up in the same situation again. Richard says, I think Nigel's earned the right to go out on his own terms. I agree with that. It's just unfortunate that the players that he's trusted for long periods of the reign have been found out. Just so happens that Sid Pepper said at Fans Forum the figure out of the stand is around the figure that we got for DKD. I don't know where the next goal's coming from, says Carl. One would be a good choice, says Rachel. And after Tuesday night, says Lee, and me and my dad were checking for stats when we concede goals, and 30 to 40% have been in the first 10 minutes or so at the start of each half. Well, let's go back to this comment from Carl, Katie. And that is, I don't know where the next goal is coming from. Well, to be fair to Nigel Clough, he's had half a go at trying to rectify that, because we've brought... We've actually made a signing, haven't we? Old Dwyer brought him in. We're going to call him Tumble on this podcast. Tumble Dwyer.
Yeah, I think he is trying to get us that goal scorer, but is it too late?
I think that's a massive call, isn't it? It probably is too late, because how do you integrate a player at this time of the season? Because I think even he knows that he's going to come in and be a bit of a bit part player. He's just here to pick up a wage and make the numbers up and have 45 minutes here, 20 minutes there.
Yeah, he's not had, in my opinion, he wouldn't have had enough time to gel with the team and get it into the style of football that we play as a team. And I hope that that's not the case. I hope he comes in and he starts getting those goals that we so desperately need. But is it too late?
It's a big question. It probably is too late, Cam. But we need. But the thing is, we did need somebody. We just needed a body, didn't we? And in order to do it, Fraser Blake Tracy has been unregistered, and Tumble Dwyer takes that registration spot.
Obviously, it's a big loss losing Fraser, but if he's going to be cropped anyway, what's the point in keeping the space? And I think, have we been a little bit too sentimental with players this season? For example, Rhys Oates, knowing that it was going to be a risk for at least the first half of the season, not bringing somebody else in. And somebody saying in the comments about replacing DKD, I think we have been guilty that we've not replaced him. We've brought two players in that have scored as many goals as he has. Gregory and Evans both bringing in double figures this season, but some of those goals have just been in games that we've lost anyway. So it looks great, like, oh yeah, we've replaced the goals. Yeah, well, actually, we're conceding more. And other than Fraser coming in and Dave, who out and out didn't play centre back for the last couple of seasons, did in the past, not recently though. We've strengthened by bringing one defender in as such, and even he's a sick note.
Yeah.
So we might have kind of addressed the issues at one end, but we've very much not done it at the other. And you still look at that midfield. I don't think that's a good enough midfield. You look at the players that we lost, stuff like mainly Ollie Clark. We're on about we need a player to stand up and take it on the shoulders and really drag us through. Why did we let him leave to Swindon?
Yeah,
Probably
it's a big question.
reason.
Well, it was, wasn't it, Al? It was, the whole, thing of wanting to be close to his family, which you can't say anything for as well. However, there is a question that's popped up in the comments that's just gone. I can't see who said it, but the question was along the lines of, is this squad stronger than last season? And I think on paper, when he put it together and when he was planning it in the summer, it probably was because of where he intended people to play. Dave was never intended, like Cam said, to go and play in that back four, back five. He was essentially Ollie Clark's replacement and ended up in the back line because of one thing or another. Losing DKD was a difficult one. We didn't really replace him. We brought Will Evans in, and you could look at him as maybe a replacement for Will Swan. But I actually don't think it is as strong as what it was last season, Al. I think, if anything, we've weakened it.
Probably not. I'd probably agree with that. And the proof of the pudding, okay, we've gone up to League One. I mean, we started off nicely, but the passing football seems to have gone, the nice, intricate stuff. Whether teams have found us out, because you can't blame the pitch this year. How we had the game against Wrexham and it turfed it all up, and, the pitch has been fine. It's never looked better, in my opinion, than it does this year. But the passing football just seems to have gone. It seems to, I don't know, after 45 minutes, 60 minutes, we're doing the hoofball again like we did on Tuesday night. And it doesn't work because you haven't got anybody up there. You're missing your Gregory or possibly Akins to hold the ball up and pass it on. And that don't seem to be happening. And we're just hoping that Caelan Vickers, can whiz, or Macca can whiz down the left-hand side and put a decent cross in for whoever we've got in the box at the time. But, it's the passing and the movement that we seem to be missing.
Nothing's been said to the extent of Fraser Tracy's injury, says Marie. Surgery followed by at least 4 months out screams yet another long-term injury. That is another major concern, Katie, because, again, Nigel Clough and injuries are like a cup of tea and a jammy dodger, hand in hand.
Yeah, we have had a lot of injuries, a lot of long-term injuries as well. And a lot of Carl said that a lot of hopes were put on Rhys Oates and him coming back, but we know that he is quite injury prone, so maybe those hopes were misplaced. And as much as I think Rhys Oates is a great player, it's not fair to put all of that hope and that strength in one player. We are a team, we're not just one player. So although he is injured, in hoping that he comes back, we can't just hope that one player is going to come back and hope that one player is going to score a goal. We need to have multiple options for goal scorers and multiple options for each position when we know that those injuries have happened, and that's something that we are missing. We've not got those additional options.
It's quite easy, Alan, to play a bit of a blame game, and as much as the players need to stand up and take accountability for what has been a dreadful, dreadful run over the last 14 games or so, Nigel Clough and his team also need to take a little bit of accountability, because this whole thing of pinning hopes on certain players doesn't just fall on Rhys Oates, does it? You look back to the start of the season, we kept slots for Alfie Kilgore, we kept slots for George Maris when he was injured, and there was a sense even before a ball was kicked that it would come back and bite us on the backside, and it has, and massively, massively has.
I think it's a collective, isn't it? Everybody, we're all in it together, right from the top to the bottom. And, we've, as daft as it sounds, you've just got to knuckle down. And, if we were having a bad day at work or whatever, we'd probably get chastised. And what would it do for your esteem? You've got two ways you can do it. You can think, oh, sod that, or whatever. Or you can knuckle down and think, I'm going to prove them wrong. And like I said, I reverted back to the Northampton game. There's nobody feeling any lower than what Nigel and the players felt after that, but they turned it round. And I firmly believe we can do it again, but it's got to start sooner rather than later as a collective.
It certainly has. It's a really, really interesting one. As always, come and have your say on your team. More of this conversation still to come. We'll look ahead to Saturday's game against Barnsley as well, and the final 10 games. Plus, take a little look at what the fantastic Her Game 2 are going to be up to on Saturday afternoon. All of that on the way after a well-earned break. Because let's face it, after a good 45 minutes of chewing the fat over all things Mansfield Town, we need to take a minute. You're back with the show for the fans, by the fans. Why? Because Mansfield always matters. Thanks so much for joining us this evening on the show. With me tonight, Cam Felton, Katie of Her Game 2 fame, and Mr. Alan Wilsinio as well. More of that to come as we go through the show. Right, keep your comments coming in. Lots of heavy debate coming in this evening as well. Lots of talk in the comments at the moment, Alan, about formations and preferred players, etc., etc. But the crux of the matter is we can't change any of that, and Nigel Clough can't change any of that. He's got what he's got. We've got 10 games to go, and as much as we want to debate about which is the best style to play, which is the best player to play in this position, it boils down to simply just be a lot better than we've been over the last 30 games.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I couldn't disagree with that, Craig. But I would like a few of the comments have made. I would like to say Evans have a partner up front, whether it's Rhodes, whether it's Dwyer. Keep two up there. You know, give their defenders something to do, because when he's on his own, he wins the odd flick on, but, you know, it's the hoof balls up front and we've got nothing to sustain it. Whereas if try and pass through and get Vickers in the middle, not attacking, middle of the midfield, let him run at him. You know, I think that's where he's most dynamic. He can take a player on, whether it's left or right, but get him going down the middle and let's have two in front of him to feed off him. But, you know, 4-4-2 would be my formation.
Just take it back to sheer basics.
Yeah, 4-4-2. Play with two lads up front, because Evans is a good player. He's proved that with Gregory. Admitted, we can't all play like Lee Gregory. The experience he's got and the teams he's played for and high divisions, admitted. And he is a big miss. But let's get somebody at the side of him. Why not Jordan Rhodes? Let's see what he can do for 60, 75 minutes.
There's a real danger, though, Katie, that Nigel Clough could do a Nigel Clough on Saturday, because he was so annoyed with the players on Tuesday night. He might just drop some of them out of spite. So we're more than likely going to see Jordan Bowery and Alfie Kilgore at centre-back together. Will Evans will be left wing-back. Scott Flinders will be on the right wing. You know, like Jordan Rhodes will be in goal. There's no telling what he's going to do next, because he is a reactive manager and he doesn't take, you know, bad performances lightly. As we probably, you know, if we reflect on it properly, as we saw in his very first season, he wasn't afraid to just rag people out and they'd just go missing.
Yeah, we definitely don't like to play players where they're known to play, does he? Bowery, I mean, he was a striker and now he's played wherever he's put. So there's definitely not a continuous place for these players, but I don't know. I'm hoping he come on Saturday, they come out and they look back on Tuesday and go, we don't want that again. We don't want to feel how we felt leaving the pitch that day. And as Kevin said, we can do it, because we have ripped teams apart, Blackpool being one of them. So we know this team can do it. So why aren't they?
Exactly that. Right, let's take a look ahead to the last 10 games then of the season, and a little look at the league table as well. Keep your comments coming in and have your say on your team. So the final 10 games, of course, starts on Saturday when we take on Barnsley at One Call Stadium. Currently a caretaker manager in charge after dispensing of Darryl Clark's services earlier in the week. Leighton Orient then up next to a great side who are, of course, trying to chase down the playoffs, but having a bit of a form dip at the moment. And then Bristol Rovers, 17th in the table at the moment, currently in average form. But the more concerning for me, Cam, is looking at the league table that we can see on screen at the moment. Stags currently in 18th place on 41 points, just 8 points clear of Burton, who were, of course, in the last relegation place in 21st. Thank goodness we managed to get a point against them, because it could have been so much worse. But again, you look at the next three games, and if we fail to get victory in any of those three, or fail, God forbid, to pick up any points, we could be right down in there.
Yeah, it does. It's pretty grim reading, to be honest. And I think slight little caveat to that final 10, that Peterborough game, obviously postponed at the moment. That'll end up being a Tuesday night. So, yes, we get a weekend off. Let's see everybody else, what they're doing, see how it goes. It just means another bloody Tuesday night game, which is frustrating. But you'd like to think we need to get points on the board and be theoretically all but safe going into Rotherham and on Good Friday. I don't fancy having to go to play Reading or go to Birmingham needing points. We need to be safe by that point. And yeah, I keep saying, where's the next point coming from? I'm hoping it's Saturday, at least a point from Saturday. But you look at the teams that we've got to play; they're all pretty much playing for something in some way, shape, or form. You look at some of the teams like Exeter, right? They might be 16th in the table, not safe by any stretch. Way this season's gone, very, very topsy turvy because they were chasing our tails a couple of months ago when we were sat in third. So it's been an interesting season to say the least. But yeah, that's a really difficult next couple of games.
When you're looking at this league table, Alan, what's the most concerning thing for you? And at which point do you say we have to be safe by? Because we cannot continue on this trajectory. If you look at, the last 10 games, 3 points from a possible 30. You look at the next 10 games, we need a far better return in order to stay in this division.
Well, I would say, ideally, get them as soon as we can. And then you can somewhat relax, because I think if we do get the 3 wins or whatever it is that we need, to get the points tally that we need, I think we'll see a different team. I really do, because they might relax a little bit. But the only good thing about it is there's at least 4 teams, which, not doing anything, same as us. That's the good thing about it.
I don't think, Katie, we can quite say that there's 4 teams worse than us, because, like I say, we are statistically the worst.
They're
down
not,
there, and they're not doing any better, are they?
Yeah, I wouldn't say worse than us, but they're definitely not much better. Hopefully those 4 teams can be the 4 teams that save us if we don't pull our socks up and get the points that we do need.
More of a mindset concern for me, Cam, at the minute, because we were saying it maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago when we were sort of starting the middle of this slump. We said, if we're not careful, we're going to get dragged right down into a horrible relegation battle, and it's going to be, bad for mentality. It's exactly that. And with 10 games to go, what we don't need to be is nervy. What we don't need to be is chomping at each other's heels. What we don't need to be doing is arguing with each other and feeling down. We need that collective spirit, which when we had the dip at this time last season, got us that momentum back again and carried us up into this division in the first place. The same DNA of the squad, so they can do it. They just need to get together again.
Yeah, it is. But I also think, same again, like I said earlier, there's some players that just don't have the ability, and I don't even think the mentality to be playing at League One. It's quite clearly that they've not got the mental strength to do it, because we've showed no fight. Some players have showed fight, but not enough. And like Gon said, there was only, 2, 3 players on Tuesday night could come out with any credit. And that's a big concern. We're halfway through March. We're going through the worst run that we've had for a very long time. And we just can't see the end of it. There's a lot of mentality issues in the squad, clearly. I don't think a lot of it is going to be addressed until the end of the season, which by that point, it's going to be too little too late.
It is a real quandary at the minute. Let's turn our attention, though, to something a little bit more positive, well, a lot more positive, let's be fair, and that's Barnsley at home on Saturday. We'll discuss the game later on, but of course, it's a special day because it's a dedicated Her Game 2 fixture. Katie, this is your moment to shine. Tell us all about it. What's coming up on Saturday afternoon?
So we've got quite a lot going on, really. But, as was mentioned here earlier, we're going to have the photo boards where fans can have photos with the players, or if they just want a photo in the board, they can.
Let's face it, they just want a photo with the board at the minute, don't they? They
Yeah.
don't want to be associated with that.
We're hoping that Reece Oates and Elliot Hewitt are going to be making an appearance, with those being our player advocates. Obviously, it depends on how Reece is feeling. So hopefully they'll be making an appearance as well. We will have merchandise. So we've got bags and key rings that are for sale. They can be purchased from myself or Keely for £1 each. They all funds go into raising money for Her Game 2 and making sure that we can continue to do things in the future. We've got female mascots, 5 of which have been paid for by the Kickstart Foundation. So big thanks to those, to allow those mascots that may not have had that opportunity to get that opportunity. We have female flag bearers. 2 of the teams that are flag bearing are the girls competition winners, that are the competitions that are run by the Mansfield Town Community Trust. One of them won the Utility Girls Cup, and one of them won the Premier League Primary Starts Under 11s. So another great opportunity for those coming off their wins in those competitions. From 12 till 1, there is an open session of female walking football, to give an idea of what is to come with those sessions that will be starting from the 31st of March. I don't have all of the information on the sessions that are coming from the 31st of March, but the following information will be available on our Facebook page and also on Mansfield Community Trust Facebook page. So any questions can be answered, or any questions can be asked on those pages, and we will try and get those answers for you. On Saturday, Monica, who is the Mansfield Town Ladies Club captain, will be in attendance and will be taking part in that walking football session. So she may be able to answer any questions for you as well. Myself, Keely, Monica, and Monica's daughter Ruby, we will be working out with the team with the flag and promoting and representing Her Game 2. There'll be graphics and information up on the scoreboard, and we are hoping to have a collection bucket for anybody who wishes to support and donate to help us raise money for Her Game 2. And the players will also have a Her Game 2 t-shirt for warming up. So lots of ways to promote and represent Her Game 2 on Saturday.
And of course, one of the big things in there for me, Alan, is women's walking football. Now, I know that you are an advocate of all things walking football. I can see a certain photo over your shoulder, which seems very familiar. And I know you've been a walking footballer for a long time. So for any ladies out there that are thinking that they'd love a bit of a kick around and want to get involved with walking football, from someone who's experienced the journey of walking football, just tell people a little bit more about it and the benefits of doing so.
It's a fantastic thing to do. It doesn't matter. Well, I mean, obviously, when you do it in our age, it was over 45s to start with. But I mean, I don't know what the girls will be, it could be any age, I would imagine. Monica's, I know she's heavily involved in it, but it's a fantastic thing to do. It gets you camaraderie with all the players. It's only, I don't know if Monica's the same. It's £3 a session for an hour. And where else can you go and have plenty of fun like that for £3 an hour? You get to know people, you get to go places. We went to the place where England trained, Burton, and we played in a competition there. And it's just, it's a fantastic thing to do. It's very good for your mental health as well. It just keeps you fit, it keeps you active. I'm waiting for a bit of an operation at the moment, because otherwise I'd still be playing. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
What you're saying, Alan, is that you're going to put a wig on Saturday and you're going to go down and have a kickabout.
Yeah. I'm sure Monica would sound me out.
No, honestly, it's all joking aside, walking football is an absolutely fantastic sport. Yeah. More and more people need to get into it. I know that the men's side of it from the community trust is growing and growing and growing. So I'm delighted that there's a women's session that's going to be put on there too. All the details will be on Mansfield Town's Community Trust page and, of course, the Her Game 2 page as well. So do go and check them out. And if you're at a loose end, even if you're not sure, even if you're sort of really, really hesitant about it, do one thing on Saturday, and that is go and give it a go. Go and explore it. Even if you just stand and watch for 5 minutes, or you get involved for 5 minutes and then stand and watch the rest of the session. It's not just about kicking a ball about. It's about everything else that you get with it. A group of friends and those connections and memories that form a lifetime as well. And who knows, in future years, you could be playing on One Call Stadium pitch and trying to get Morecambe's Kevin Ellison involved, Al. You remember that one?
Yes, I can. Definitely. And he was thoroughly enjoying it, weren't he, Kevin Ellison?
He was desperate for a game. He was absolutely desperate for a game, that lad. Katie,
he was loving it.
If people want to find out a little bit more about Her Game 2, where can they go?
So we have our Her Game 2 Mansfield Town Facebook page. Her Game 2 also have a Facebook page. We have pages on Instagram and TikTok. So there's all of that. There's all of those options as well. Her Game 2 have a website, so they can go on there and they can find out more information. We should have some leaflets available with us on Saturday, which will give us information as well. So we're happy to answer any questions that anybody might have as well. So if they see us on Saturday and they've got some questions that they've maybe not been able to find that information out on any of our socials, they can also always come and ask us. And if we don't know the answers, we will go out and find those answers for them. So we will do our best to get all of the information that any fan is in need of and try and help them the best that we can.
What's been part of Her Game 2 done for you? I know it's been about a year now, hasn't it, since you've been involved?
It's been nice to know that there is this group available. I've made friends in doing this, whether that be the ambassadors and the advocates, or even walking around. I went to a hospital appointment once and one of the women went, "Oh, I know you do the Her Game 2 stuff, don't you?" So it's knowing that we are getting out there and we are making sure that people locally as well as everywhere. I mean, Her Game 2 is now international. It's not just about football. There's multiple sports that are involved in the Her Game 2 community, and it's making sure that everybody that wants to be involved in a sport feels safe in that sport. And we're lucky with our team because we are a team. The fans, the team, everyone is so welcoming, and it's not just a case of what football is for boys. Because not many of our fans have that thought. That's one area that we are very, very lucky. But it's not always the case for a lot of people. So, and even though we are that lucky, sometimes it's making sure that people that don't come know that is the case, and making sure that they do feel safe when they do come for that first time, and making sure that we can make them feel safe.
What do you think the biggest difference the Her Game 2 movement has impacted on not just football in general, but the experience around Mansfield Town in particular?
Again, it's that safety, because there's been times where I've been on social media and I've seen comments with, "Oh, you're a girl, you don't know what you're talking about. What? Just go away," or being told that somebody's wrong, even though the comments that have been made are the same comments that have been made by men previously. And then those people have been too worried to say something going forward. Whereas now that we've got that platform and we've got that area where anybody can feel safe, because they can come onto our page and express those feelings and have those opinions.
Make sure you go and check out Her Game 2 on all things Facebook, and look out for all of the Her Game 2 group on Saturday at One Call Stadium as the Stags welcome Barnsley in another League One fixture. And of course, if you've got some spare time, go down and check out the Walking Football, because honestly, it's a fantastic experience, and I can guarantee Alan Wilson will be there wearing a wig, and that is a sight we all want to see. Right,
And
turn our attention to...
It is free on Saturday as well, the
it's free on Saturday as well, so go and get involved with that. Let's turn our attention to things on the pitch on Saturday, Cam. Huge game, make or break for the season. Has to be now, doesn't it?
I'd probably say so. I think there'll definitely be a bit more of an edge from the crowd towards a certain number 40. We're very, very much known for not being the most welcoming place to former players. And to be honest, I think the players have just got to use the energy that the fans are going to have. I think regardless of your opinion of Mr. Keeler Dunn, how he left, whatever, you never want to see a former player doing well against you. So that little bit of extra from the crowd, no doubt from the noisy lot up in the Q block, use that as momentum and use that as energy. And Craig, have you got the bell?
No, because I've moved my office around. I don't actually know where it is. And Harry is now scared of bells. So Harry, the dog, by the way, Katie, will go mental. And I don't fancy facing the wrath of Nat, because she's dealing with him. So no, I'll improvise. Go on.
Oh, yeah, that's fair. So the crowd, they're going to galvanise the players.
Ding ding.
Thank you. I think we've just got to use.
Sorry, Cam, I've got to stop you. For context, Katie, years and years ago on this podcast, we used to have Nathan brought us a bell. I don't know why, and we used to have buzzwords, and the bell would ring every time because we'd say the word every week. It was galvanised, ding ding, solidified, ding ding, and toxicity, ding ding. Carry on, Cam.
They were all Dave Flitcroft, though. They were. So we need some new days.
We do.
Fun times. Anyway, we've just got to use it all against Barnsley. I think we've been, to be honest, I think we've been guilty of not performing at home. I think the crowds have not just
not performed at home. We've not performed anywhere, son.
I know. We've done better on the road than we have at home, that's a ridiculous thing. No football team should be better on the road than they are at home. You're supposed to make your home a fortress, and
well, if you're playing football on a road, that's your first mistake. Play it on a grass pitch.
We've just been so flat at home. It used to be a really horrible place to come, and everyone's now just taking 3 points off us, which is really frustrating. So let's turn this form around, and there's no better way of doing it on Saturday. And just a little bit of a caveat, ever since Mansfield started doing the Her Game 2 fixtures, so 2 years ago, we have not lost. We drew the first year against Sutton.
He said it, didn't he? He had to go and say it.
And we beat Swindon last year.
Said it. He's absolutely said it. Oh.
There's always one.
Okay, yeah.
Embarrassing.
I thought it was
embarrassing.
Yeah, okay.
Oh my God, it's embarrassing.
Taking the absolute now.
Alan, there's been a lot of talk on social media about a certain number 40. It's understandable why, but it cannot be about him on Saturday. It's got to be about this current Mansfield Town squad. And as a caveat to that as well, slightly, let's not play into that by, doing the boos and getting on his back. Let's just applaud him. I'll be one. If he gets subbed off, I'll stand up and applaud him. He got us into this league for a start.
I'm going to say I can't see why, however he went and however he wanted to go, he did what he got Mansfield where we needed to be. So fair play to the bloke. That's just my opinion. But Saturday, turn up, play like we can play like we know we can play, and let's have 2 forwards up front, not just one.
My vote is to play Adam Collin and Mini Mez, the assistant groundsman up front. Mix it up a bit. Katie, Simon in the comments says, we were severely lacking a leader on Tuesday. Flint needs to start on Saturday. We need someone to grab hold of the captaincy, stand tall and be a vocal leader. Reid is not good enough. We do need a leader, but we need 11 leaders, not just one.
I don't know. Since Flint's come back, I've not seen the passion that we've seen previously. Same with Kilgore. He had those few games where he was so passionate, and he was, even when we'd lost, he was still spurring the fans along, but it seems to have gone. it doesn't seem to be there anymore. We need somebody with passion as well as the skill and the stamina, because passion is a lot to do with the game. And if you're not passionate for it anymore, you're not going to play anymore.
Absolutely. Right. So let's move on to what is now, Katie, as someone who's not watched the podcast or listened too often, going to be a treat for you. Let's be honest. Let's play this. So can you be the master or an embarrassing disaster? In this guessing game, there's a simple aim. It's outguess the rest and be the best. Win, lose or draw. Do you know the score? Who will be your hero to make sure you don't score zero? Yes, it may be fiction, but this is Podcast Predictions. So some terrible rhyming, Katie, might have hopefully given you an idea of what goes off. This game we play every single week. Everyone can play along at home as well. The link is in the description. All you have to do is guess, win, lose or draw. Then you've got to guess the score. Then you've got to pick a player who will win you some fancy points. So we'll let these two go first, and I'll go as well and read out some of the other predictions that we've had from the other members of the team. And then you can throw your prediction in the mix as well. So let's find out what everyone's prediction is for this week. Let's kick off with Clive, Nick and Jim. Clive has gone for a 2-0 defeat and he's picked Lewis Reed as his fantasy captain. Nick has gone for a 2-1 defeat and has picked Dave. Dave. And Jim has been slightly more optimistic. He's gone for a 2-1 win and he's picked Tom Dwyer as his fantasy pick. Alan, you're up next. Win, lose or draw?
Win.
What will be the score?
2-1. And Dave.
Cameron.
Win 1-0. Rhodes.
Ooh. Picking a man who's never going to start. Fair play. I've gone for a 3-2 win. I've also picked Dave as the fantasy captain. So, Katie, win, lose or draw?
I think we'll win.
What will be the score?
I think it'll be 2-1. I think DKD will score,
as
much as we hate to see previous players scoring, but I think Rhodes will be the one that he won't. I don't think he'll start, but I think he'll come on and he'll make that difference, hopefully.
Well, we will see. As always, if you want to play along with podcast predictions, the link that you need is in the description. And Cameron, you need to submit your guesses when?
You're only doing this because I always forget. It's an hour and 1 minute before kickoff.
No later than 1 hour and 1 minute before kickoff. So you're not influenced by the team news. Because, of course, you do lose points if your chosen player doesn't feature. All the rules and all of that stuff via the link in the description. And if you've not played it before, you can still win the entire thing by starting this week and playing along, because the point system is crazy. Links in the description. Stay tuned to social media to find out who wins the week. Well, Katie, if that wasn't treat enough for you, well, get ready.
Content loading. Selecting game. Game selected. Players stand by. What's in Craig's bucket?
So at the start of the season, we decided that this season would be absolutely miserable and that at the end of the show, we needed a little bit of fun. Of course, the season started off quite well, so the fun just became an little add-on. But in recent weeks, we've needed the little bit of fun. So this is a game called What's in Craig's Bucket. I have a handy bucket, and in it, there is a Mansfield Town-related item. Between the three of you, you have 4 questions each going in order. I can only answer yes, no, or maybe, or if I'm feeling generous, give you a little bit of a hint. And the aim is you've got to try and work out what item is in Craig's bucket. Is that understandable, Katie? Are we on the level with it? Okay. And as a little bit of an added incentive as well, our regular podcast panelists are also playing for game points at the end of each episode. Currently, Clive has 11 points. Alan has 9. Nick is in the lead with 13. Jim's got 2. Nathan's got 2. And Cam's got 5. So Cam and Alan will be playing for their points. Katie, you are playing for points for everybody else. So you could be the saviour and get other people points on the board. This is the way it's gonna happen. We'll go in the following order in terms of answering or asking questions. Alan, Katie, then Cam. And a reminder, 4 questions is your maximum. You can't guess until those 4 questions have been asked. So without further ado, let's find out what's in Craig's bucket. Alan, start us off.
Is it edible?
No. Katie.
Is it something that can be used in the game?
No. Cam.
I don't know. Is this... Could you buy this item in a corner shop?
This particular item, no, you would have to get from a specific shop. However, you can buy these items in many shops, including some corner shops. Alan.
Would you wear it?
If you did, you'd look very silly, so no. Katie.
Ooh, do you have to be over a certain age to purchase it?
No. However, I would probably say that people over a certain age would use this item more than others. Cam, stop it. Come on, put yourself together.
Bleep the rest of this bit. I'm joking. Oh, that's proper stumped me now. Would you use this item to clean something?
Not necessarily to clean something. However, you might use this item to help keep a place clean.
Okay.
Alan.
Okay.
When you
Oh God,
press
here we
the
go.
top of it, does it go?
No, it does not go.
Oh God! Is it available in any colour?
Yes, you can get this item in multiple colours, multiple designs. It's very flat too. Cam, I know where your mind's going, Cam, and it's disgusting.
What are you on about? Last question. We'll make it a good one.
No, you got one more question after this. This is question 3.
There's a question. Okay. Is this item expensive?
No, cheap to make, cheap to buy. However, if you brought it in a set, it can become expensive.
Oh, okay.
Alan.
Could you put it in motorised transport?
You could put it in motorised transport. However, I wouldn't see the point because motorised transport already have alternatives to these built in.
Oh.
Can it be used to cover something?
It can be used to cover something, and it can also be used to prevent something which you might need to cover, for example. Hope that's not a stain on your final question, Cam.
What? I don't have a final question. I'm proper stumped now.
Come on, don't be a mug.
Without giving it away, I've got to ask. Is this something you would set on fire?
You could set it on fire. It's probably flammable material, but why you would set it on fire, I've got no idea.
Then.
But there you go. Right, your questions are done. Have a little think. Don't be a mug. Let's see if we can coast our way through to getting an answer here, shall we? Alan Wilson, what is in Craig's bucket, please?
I feel that that's a clue, but I'm not getting the clue. The top that you put on a drink.
Katie, what's in Craig's bucket?
Oh, a coaster.
Cam, what's in Craig's bucket?
I was thinking like a candle or an air freshener.
Is that your guess?
Yeah, something that smells good.
I can tell you that one person is correct.
Oh,
It's
good.
the Katie.
The item in Craig's bucket is a coaster for a mug. There you go. Well done, Katie.
I wrote plastic sheet until you said coast through.
I tried to give you. I
I
gave
know,
you
when
subtle
it's
clues.
just
I lifted my
coaster
mug
mug.
twice
I
to
know.
give you that. It
Yeah.
can be used to cover stains. It can be used to keep your living room, your coffee
Yeah.
table clean. If you set it on fire, it's flammable, but it's cheap if you buy it individually, but you can buy it as a set. This one comes with a set. It's a Mansfield Town coaster. So well done to Katie. You have got points for Nick, for Jim, for Nathan, who's been on the podcast like twice this year, and for Clive as well. So well done to you. Thank you for playing What's in Craig's Bucket. If you want to play What's in Craig's Bucket again, make sure you're joining us next week and find out what's in the random game generator. I've got no idea what items Cam were thinking of. In fact, I have got ideas of what Cam was thinking of, and it's very, very bad. Quick one, Alan, before we finish. What was Mrs. Wilson's guess? She's always guessing off camera. What was her guess?
Air freshener.
Is that
Car
what you did
freshener,
there?
you know.
Was Mrs. Wilson sat off camera going, is it one of them?
No,
Was she
that
doing the
was me.
actions?
That was me.
Okay.
After the third question, Jeanette said could be an air freshener. I was thinking duster all along, but because I was even going to ask you to rattle the bucket to see what sort of sound it made.
Oh, we don't do rattling buckets, not on this show. Right, that is almost all we've got time for. Katie, just finally, just give us one last little plug for everything that's happening on Saturday, please.
We've got a lot happening. So starting with the walk-in football session is free for all females, with Monica in attendance, to merchandise being available. Badges and keyrings can be purchased from myself and Keeley for £1 each. And we will have the photo boards, and any questions that you may have can be answered by us as well.
Alan, 10 games to go, plummeting towards the relegation zone. Andy Garners' frank and honest interview after Tuesday night has certainly got us all talking. Is that going to be the catalyst for Mansfield Town to do a U-turn and stay in this division and complete the job in hand?
Well, I hope so. I would completely agree with what Simon says. 10 cup finals, reset and go again. I think that says it all.
Cam, the games get bigger and bigger week in, week out. Have the Stags got enough about them on Saturday to get 3 long overdue points?
Yeah.
Oof.
Nobody cares what you've got to say. And that is the end of the show. Katie, thanks so much for joining us. Alan, thanks for joining us as well. And you guys at home, thanks so much for watching and for listening and for playing along with What's in Craig's Bucket. That is all we've got time for on tonight's Mansfield Matters podcast. My thanks to Katie from Her Game 2 for coming and joining us at the very last minute tonight. She did an absolutely superb job as well. Welcome back anytime. Do go and check out everything that they're doing on Saturday at One Call Stadium. My thanks to Alan Wilson, I suppose to Cam as well. But mainly for you guys at home for watching and for listening and joining in the discussion as always. The link for podcast predictions is in the description, and make sure you follow us on all things social media to find out not only who wins the week, but when we're next going to be live. 10 games to go. The Stags are falling at a rapid rate. But squabbling and discussing what's going wrong ain't going to help. The only thing that is getting behind the team in these final 10 games and getting us across the finish line. Why? Because Mansfield always matters. Good night. Thanks for listening.
Just miles off it.